All right, how do the good, wonderful folks out there in the world do? My name is JV Wins. That is Dogon SS. We are back on the Conscious Approach channel on YouTube once again with another stream. Thanks to everybody who is tuning in. Before we get started, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. If you have not already done so, hit that like button. There was one commenter on one of our previous video, on one of our more recent videos, saying that they're surprised that we haven't crossed 1,000 subs yet. And I took that as a compliment. I took that to mean that what we do is so good that he's shocked that we haven't hit 1,000 subs yet. That's how I chose to take that information in. So as you can see via our little ticker going there across the bottom of the screen, we are in a race of 1,000 subscribers. But moreover, because we do this for the love, not necessarily for the metrics. If you like what we do over here on this channel, subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, leave a comment, let us know what you think. During the live stream, go ahead and chime in on the stream. Give us your thoughts on these various topics that we touch on the channel, because we do it for the community aspect more so than for the opportunity to just get here in front of a webcam and gas bag for over an hour. So with that being said, first thing that we are going to talk about this evening on the stream is interesting comments that Ebro made about Drake. So just a brief history here. Very recently, there was an interview in which Childish Gambino, aka Donald Glover, aka the guy who created Atlanta, said that his song from 2018, This Is America, originally started as a Drake diss, but upon evaluating how he wanted to continue to go about creating and promoting the song, he ended up changing direction, and it became the song that we know of, a song that's about, it's a social commentary on modern America and race and all of that kind of stuff. So before it became that, though, it was originally supposed to be, in his words, a funny Drake diss. And upon learning about that, Drake took exception, and Drake is currently on tour. So he put something on this big screen behind him, basically calling out Childish Gambino in a competitive way for the fact that that song was originally a Drake diss. Now, this topic came up during Ebro's Apple Music show on YouTube, and that's what we're going to touch on this first topic, because Ebro got into whether it was cool for Drake to take exception to Donald Glover saying that, in light of the fact that Drake himself tends to recuse himself from speaking on social issues. And that's pretty much the meat of this topic. And so that's what we wanted to touch on, because we found it to be interesting. The notion of Drake, or, people in general, and what's your responsibility supposed to be in terms of speaking on social issues. So this story here, published to Hot New Hip Hop, it says, Ebro speaks on Drake never talking about social issues. Drake has been catching a lot of flack for calling Childish Gambino's track "This Is America" trash. Ebro Darden is the latest to speak out about Drake's comments. The radio personality ripped Drizzy, saying that he's never shown up for the black community when it comes to discussing social issues. Quote, "Y'all know I'm the biggest Drake fan on this show," Ebro says to his co-stars on Apple's Rap Life review. Drake has never shown up to have anything to say about anything going on in society with black folks or anything other than himself. Ebro continued by saying, "You're also one of the most successful rappers we've ever seen, and we love you for that. The song's called This Is America. You're Canadian, bro." The three hosts on the show were commenting that it's okay if Drake doesn't speak about social issues, but that it's whack if he brings up a song from 5 years ago and disses it. Drake is currently on his It's All a Blur tour, where a headline flashed across the stage that said, "The overrated and over-awarded hit song This Is America, originally a Drake diss." So we'll also go ahead and play a short snippet of Ebro's comments so that I can allow the man to speak for himself.
But it was important at the time, and it made people feel something about social commentary. And obviously, I'm biased because I like when an artist can do that. I don't know how I feel about Drake, who has never shown up, and y'all know I'm the biggest Drake fan on this show. Drake has never shown up to have anything to say about anything going on in society with black folks or anything other than himself. So now you having an issue. I get you having an issue with Childish Gambino if what you're saying is fact. But fam, the song was supposed to be a joke diss. It didn't actually happen.
Mm-hmm.
So why are you in your feelings about it and taking shots at a song?
It was like 5 years late. Like the song came out, what, 18, 19?
Yeah, but I think the Childish Gambino interview just happened a few months ago. So it's
Yeah,
still
so it's only
relevant in
because
that
he
context.
addressed it right
But
now.
I don't know, it didn't actually happen. Nothing actually happened.
Right. It's a little.
All right, so yeah, that's pretty much summing up kind of what I summarized there in the beginning. It didn't even end up being a Drake diss to begin with, but Drake felt he took exception. And you know, Drake to me, he strikes me as like a LeBron type person. Drake is like the LeBron of rap. He's passive aggressive and petty, but he'll make it seem as though he's not. So that he can try and look like he's this overconfident, non-insecure person when really he is exactly that. That's my opinion. And that clip is courtesy of Apple Music. So you know, don't flag us, man. We just, you know, we're the little guy here on the internet trying to get
Fair
bigger.
use,
So
man. Fair
you know,
use.
yeah, fair use. That's what's up. So yeah, what do you think about Ebro's comments towards Drake, or Drake doing what he did in response to that, or the overall notion of Drake speaking on social issues or lack thereof?
I'll touch on the part where, I'll touch on the part where we're dealing with the Drake not talking about social issues. That's not, that's not his job. That's not his lane. So that's not his responsibility at that point. And so it's on the consumer whether or not, they know which bucket to put certain things in. And if the only thing you do is consume is Drake, and you think that Drake isn't just the entertainment part of music, then you will be missing the substance that you surely need. Now, if you, listen to various forms of music to actually get that substance, then you already know that Drake is going to talk about what he wants to talk about. So he kind of already carved out his own lane. He doesn't have to talk about social issues. It's not his job. And Drake is just an entertainer. So for me, when I look at artistry, yeah, I'm always looking for substance. That's what I'm generally going to call the art. And when these people nowadays are just talking about anything and nothing of substance, nothing of quality, they're just spattering out words and saying anything. Well, at that point, then, that's why, I harp on today's music so much. Now, there's people in today's music that do have substance and they do say things. But whenever I'm speaking on these things, I'm talking about en masse. And this is what people are massively consuming. So Drake is no different. He is the machine. He sets the standard for mechanical industry rap. And it's very commercial, and it's not intended to actually spark your mind of self-improvement, other than, you're looking at self-improvement through trying to live your life through Drake's life, which to me is like not it. Because again, for various times we talked about, because he eventually swerved down a lane of tricking off on Instagram models and other weird behaviors.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure Drake fans will say that he has substance and he does talk about things, but to me, I really don't think so. But I'll let you go in a second. But as far as Drake having to feel like he has to all of a sudden do it, because that would be cheesy now. So if he all of a sudden tries to come out with man in the mirror, let's heal the world type stuff, it's like, whoa, bro, too little too late. So just keep entertaining us with your dance hall, your techno, whatever you got coming, dubstep, whatever you're gonna do, man, just keep entertaining us in clubs and on the radio. So how about you, sir? How do you feel about this whole dynamic here? Do you feel like Drake has some substance to his bars? I mean, or do you feel like Mr. Ebro got a point here?
I think Ebro's right to me. I think so. I don't think that Ebro was insinuating that Drake should do that. I think that he was saying that because you don't do that, why call out this song for being something that it didn't actually end up being when you know the overall impact that the song had. It's beneath you to do that, to call the song out when you yourself aren't in the lane or you don't necessarily occupy a space within the music contextually, which would make sense for you to combat that song being a Drake diss, even though it didn't even end up being a Drake diss in the first place. So I kind of get where Ebro is coming from. And I think the point of Drake's reaction continuing to be Drake-ish and not the opposite thing where now he's going to decide to be a social commentator is of more substance. Like it would be unfortunate if Drake at this point in his career decided that he was going to try and become like some kind of pseudo Kendrick Lamar, because it would just come off weird. It's like you don't do that. So just keep doing what you're doing and talk about how you get everybody's woman and you'll have sex with another guy's wife or woman, and how women need to stop trying to fill their bank accounts with, via your money. And what else does Drake talk about? I don't even know what else he talks about except for that.
Not flying on Spirit or wearing New Balance.
Right. Which kind of just brings it back to the central part about women. I feel like, Drake just raps about women all the time. So like, just keep doing that, bro, because no one's criticizing you for not being a social commentator, but you will start looking funny if all of a sudden you decide that you want to rap about social issues. And this is an issue that I have, not because Drake hasn't done this, but I've had this issue with other rappers who have spent the lion's share of their careers carving a niche for themselves in which they're this life-living, money-loving, women-loving, living life to the fullest, living in excess, living in debauchery, Sodom and Gomorrah type shit. But then all of a sudden something happens in the world and they feel this pressure to make songs about police brutality or, it's disgusting. It really is. I remember, I forget which one of those Rick Ross albums it was. I forget which one it was. It was like Hood Billion. It was one of those albums Rick Ross did, but it came out somewhere near when that Baltimore stuff was going down back in like 2015. And all of a sudden Rick Ross has a song on his album about, police brutality and all of this kind of stuff. And it's like, bro, that's not you. Just keep talking about 745 white on white and, you know what I'm saying? And being rich off cocaine. Like, that's your lane, Ross. Like, stop feeling this obligatory nature to do what other people already are doing. Like, it's not you. And if they're doing it because they feel this pressure from the hip hop constituency, then I think that that's an even bigger indictment on the environment around the music. Because I also think that consumers of the music and consumers of this weirdo culture need to know who does what and call on those individuals to occupy the right spaces and leave everybody else to do what they do best. So there's also this extra added layer of, do I listen to the environment around the music that's seemingly telling me that I'm supposed to dip my toe in this pool, even if I'm not good at it. And furthermore, even if I am completely and wholly uninformed to do so. And so some of these rappers who have done this, it's just been kind of gross to listen to. Even some of my favorite people, they've done it. And it was just, to me, it was just kind of like, like Jay-Z's my favorite rapper. He put that Kingdom Come album out and he had a song on there about the Hurricane Katrina. and everything that's going on Katrina. And I get it because he's trying to lend his voice to it because he feels like he has an obligation to do so because he is who he is. But at the same time, you're not necessarily the best at that. Even if you are really good at being lyrical and rapping and spitting bars and all of that kind of stuff, there's other rappers who are better at it. So just let people occupy the space that they're meant to occupy and let the chips fall where they may. And again, to Ebro's credit, I don't think Ebro was suggesting that Drake should do this. I think Ebro was saying you haven't been doing this, so don't call out Childish Gambino, who does do this, just because he mentioned haphazardly that a song that became that almost was a Drake diss. Because that is a petty reason to go back at somebody for something that doesn't even exist. Like, it's not like Glover actually has a Drake diss in existence. He doesn't. All we have is the actual song itself, the This Is America song. And if you see that actual interview with Donald Glover talking about the history behind the song, the way he's delivering the interview, he's being his typical corny self. And he's not even making it seem like he almost was. He's not making it seem as though he was coming at Drake on that kind of stuff. It's very laid back, very casual. To me, it was all in fun and spirit. And, you know, Drake doing his LeBron passive aggressive, let me go back at that, to me was just to kind of garner more attention Drake's way. It seemed very self-servient in my opinion.
Absolutely.
But then again, I'm not a Drake fan, so I don't care about saying that. I'm not someone who worships at the altar of Drake anyway. But yeah, I just kind of think that above all else, Drake shouldn't take this as an opportunity to become a conscious rapper. Because, bro, you're not a conscious rapper. You're a let me talk about these women rapper. That's what, and you do it well. So just keep doing what you do well. And there are so many parallels between music and sports because we make these demands of athletes too, especially these football players and these basketball players. They need to be these civic leaders all of a sudden and speak up for the people whenever things are going wrong in society or the world at large. And if you're qualified to do so and you've done your research and you know what you're talking about, more power to you. But most of these guys running around out here are just regular people who are just trying to get money, feed families, and have fun and live life. And they don't know nothing about history, politics, sociopolitics, economics. They don't know anything about any of this stuff. Yet we seemingly demand of them that they speak on it. And then when they put their foot in their mouth because they don't know what they're talking about, we want to criticize them for that. So it's ridiculous. They're in a completely lose-lose situation. And it's unfortunate. And rappers get to sidestep this more than athletes. Excuse me, because for whatever reason, we've decided that the athletes are the champions. So Drake is able to more easily sidestep, you know, the obligation that is being, you know, put upon him to do this. I don't think that that's happening, but hypothetically speaking, if it were, Drake is able to sidestep it easier than an NBA player or an NFL player would. But overall, I think we need to cut back on that. It's silly, and we need to give more credence and credibility and afford the platform on a greater level to the individuals from the community who are more qualified to do this stuff. And that includes other rappers and athletes, just they're more qualified to do it than Drake or somebody else. So I think we just need to let these guys go, leave them alone, and let Drake continue to rap about, you know, smashing strippers and porn stars and models and being in the club all the time at Live and just give us the blueprint for how to not allow a woman to go hypergamy on you.
Well, wouldn't that just be great? But you know, I think he's going to continue to do that. So I don't think he's going to feel any pressure from this. But if he slips one in there, I'm going to call him corny for it. I'm like, too late, bro. You had so much time. So many social things happen, bro. And you just chose to make another dance song. So just keep making dance songs, bro. But, you know, as you mentioned, your favorite, Jay-Z, he did change over time anyway, you know, and he did start talking about more insightful things instead of exclusively just, you know, baller talk, you know.
Yeah.
So, and he found a way to still do baller talk while talk about things that were progressive. So, he found a way to do age appropriate music, and so maybe Drake in old age, because nobody's really going to limit him for it, especially if he gets older in age and, it comes off more genuine, then who cares? But right now, if he started to do that, yeah, it'd be kind of corny. But him, nevertheless, he's an entertainer, as I mentioned earlier. So yeah, this is WWE for him. The rap arena is freaking, I don't know what do they call that? Any one of those Royal Rumbles, what do they call those?
Survivor Series.
Yeah, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
WrestleMania.
Yeah, man.
Hell in a Cell.
Yeah, so he's gonna, for no apparent reason, if you mention his name, he's like Kevin Durant. He's paying attention to the Twitter wires and everything else. What you think is not gonna get back to him? And yes, he's gonna be petty about it because that's part of his promo. He's out there like Macho Man Randy Savage out there, minus the coke, and just out there just giving people stuff to talk about so his name can be, hey man, I'm about to watch that Hell in a Cell. And so now I know Drake on tour. I know that boy was on tour. I don't care that he's on tour, but now I know. And how do I know? Because he knew what was going to make headlines, like LeBron. So he plays the media game. That's part of his triple double package. He's gonna hit you with this. He's gonna hit you with that. And this was like a no look behind the back assist to himself. And everybody's gonna be like, damn, man, how you because the people that are not gonna sit around and talk about this, they're just gonna, oh, Drake's on tour and go about their business. But see, Planet, Drake's on tour. And so, and for the people that are, hopefully, is he coming to Kansas? Nah, he's not coming to Kansas, bro. Better go to Chicago or whatever your nearest city, Missouri or whatever. But so I see how he's playing it, and you got to give him credit for this. The guy's always playing chess out here, and so to me, I look at it as promo for him. I don't expect him to give me conscious bars. I don't want to hear conscious bars from him. They might go hard, but whatever. But maybe his stands need to hear it. So who knows? So this world's out of my hands anyway, man. If I can control this shit, man, so he gonna do whatever he want. But Ebro, Ebro loves to harp on Drake. This is just the latest stab at it. He knows it gives him buzz, and so he took a nice little opportunity here to get at him. But I don't expect anything less from Mr. Drake here. This is WWE for him, and he knows what gets him the impressions and what's getting him searched. And right on, hit the nail on the head. He made it all the way to the conscious approach.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, I think that I don't think that Drake has any intention to create some sort of Childish Gambino. I don't think that there's any Childish Gambino Drake diss brewing. I think Drake used it as an opportunity to be self-serving and to bring more attention to himself. I agree with you. I think that he's playing the media game and he's doing it well because he is a smart guy. But just because you're smart doesn't mean that you're qualified to be socially aware. And we need to let people occupy the lanes in which they're most appropriate. And this comes on the heels. There was another person, and his name is, I'm drawing a blank on who it is at the moment. And that sucks because I would really like to say it. But there's someone who not too long ago did call out Drake specifically for sidestepping interviews in the media that would require him to speak on important social issues. And so there's a precedent for this type of conversation where his name has been brought up in various contexts in the past with respect to his reluctance, apparently, to speak out on social issues. And to me, that's kind of where the rubber meets the road. It's like, why are we requiring? Are you requiring this of him because of how famous and big he is? They're
Yeah.
like, there seems to be a correlation between how big you become
Yeah.
and the responsibility that others in the community want to attach to what you're supposed to do.
Right.
And I guess I understand it because he does have a big platform because
Right.
of who he is. He's Drake.
Right.
But at the same time, what's the value of that if he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about? Or if he's not informed, or if furthermore he does not care. Like, what if he is genuinely not impassioned enough to do so? We should not force these people into these situations. Stop trying to pigeonhole these individuals, especially rappers who at the same time put out albums talking about all of the facets of self-degradation that go into harming those very same communities. Now, I'm not blaming rappers and hip-hop people for the problems in the world or the problems with any of their respective communities, but it is what it is. Like, routinely, they're producing content that at the very least highlights what's wrong with a lot of the behaviors inherent in the people who come from those very communities. So it's a tug and pull type thing. You want them to make that same kind of content, but then also speak on social issues. If you really want to call Drake out for this, how about you call him out for making the type of content that he makes in the first place? Because some can argue that that does more harm than some of these other societal problems that you want him to speak on. Or at the very least, it plays a role in exacerbating some of these problems. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that that's my point of view. I believe everybody occupies a lane. Drake don't do that, so don't obligate him to. Let Drake talk about the women and the money and all of that other stuff, and let people like Nas and Killer Mike do the social commentary stuff, because they're better at that than him by far. It's not even close. So just bring up the right people, and and kind of stop doing this weirdo thing that we do where we want these rappers and these athletes to be the champions of the people. I think that that's a fatal flaw in our strategy. Pay attention to some of these people in more academic spaces who are more qualified to speak on this. I think that if we had our priorities more in check in that regard, then we wouldn't feel this impulsive need to call Drake out for speaking more on social issues. Because I don't want to hear Drake talk to me about any of that. I don't want to hear that. Like, you're Drake. Like you said, entertain me. Tell me how to get a stripper if that's what I want, which I don't. I'm just saying, for example, talk to me, talk to me about how to bag a stripper, right? Talk to me about how to get an OnlyFans chick. You know what I'm saying? Talk to me about how to not let them take advantage of me. Talk to me about all of that kind of stuff. That's what you do best, Drake. And so do that. But maybe I'm an outlier. I'm certainly not a conformist, or I don't consider myself to be amongst the masses who's going to sit there and demand that rappers speak on my behalf. I'm going to pay attention to the people who I think are more qualified to do these things. And for all I care, Drake can spend the next 6 months educating himself on the history of American sociopolitics. I still don't want to hear Drake talk on it because I have too much empirical data of what Drake actually is, given the decade plus that he's been in the rap game, talking about the stuff that he talks about. So maybe I'm being rigid and I'm not giving him a chance to do it, but I am of the belief that you are who you are. So if Drake was going to be this, he'd already be it. So educate yourself and whatever, but I don't want to hear you talk about this stuff. So yeah, Ebro, they got their show over there on Apple. I've never seen it before, but maybe I'll pay more attention to it. But it certainly helps the views to put out there that you got a Drake topic during the episode, obviously.
Yeah.
And it definitely helps Drake to, not that Drake needs the plug, but if somebody who's as big as Gambino, Glover, whatever you want to call him, is going to provide him with the opportunity to bring something up that can further help Drake in an aspect of self-interest, then he's of course naturally going to take advantage of that opportunity as well. So all fair is in this competitive hip-hop media space, but miss me with trying to call Drake out for being a social commentator. Just let Drake do what he does. And if you really need a rapper to do this stuff, pay attention to the rappers who are more qualified.
And as far as like Drake, the reason why he never picked a side on anything, because that's not his job. And his job is to entertain people and just hop on stage and sing you a song, make you dance. And because if he gets political, if he picks a side, he's isolating bags. He's not doing that. He's here for everybody. That's why he's making dance hall stuff. That's why he's making techno stuff. That's why he's doing all of these things. He's trying to make money from everybody. As soon as he takes a stance on anything, yeah, police brutality sucks, but there's a whole bunch of people that feel like those people deserved it. And now you're going to piss those people off. Now they're not going to come to your shows or whatever. But if you just tell them that how to bag a stripper and how to let that stripper finesse you, he can identify with that a little bit more. He can. So Drake's going to keep giving us our lullaby music, the music that you sleep to. There's nothing in there that has any levels of awareness. You know, the only awareness that he's giving you is awareness of this game, but he's not giving you any awareness of the game of life, right? So he just goes around with this stuff and let him keep doing that. But that's what I'm saying. You got to understand who the court gesture is, or the person that you should be looking to as an orator, and a person that's actually given some life gospel you can live by somehow. Because Drake's not that guy. He would have got on that mantle, but he doesn't want to do that. And so let's not require him, Ebro. And by the way, Ebro, it's not like you speak for the community either. So what the hell are you talking about? And you get up there on your radio stations for decades now, parading around playing this music that you know is detrimental to our community. You don't make any stances on this. You don't stand up for anything. So what are you doing to help our community? You're not doing anything. And he always called people out for not being black enough. Yeah. Bro, please sit down, sir. So here he goes again, trying to throw somebody else under the bus, you know, because Drake, man, please. Drake's job is out there to go whoop-de-whoop-de-whoop. And I don't expect this guy to write a scholarly book to change the world. So Ebro, go sit down out there with Drake, jigabooing with everybody else. So yeah, I'm sorry, I had to get that off my chest. I couldn't let this go without me addressing Ebro. You know, I didn't want this to be a whole Drake bashing, because it wasn't a Drake bashing session. It was it's Drake is what he is session. Yeah. But yeah, Ebro, take a hike, sir. I'm not buying this stuff.
Yeah, well, according to Ebro, loves Drake. That's
he's always hopping.
According to Ebro, yeah. According to Ebro, he loves Drake. But I just Elliot Wilson, that's the guy's name who called Drake out for speaking on issues outside of the culture. That's the guy's name who called Drake out previously. But he's not the only one. There's been other people who have done it. I just say leave the guy alone and let him do the, you know, ever since I left the city, you, like, that's Drake. that's what Drake is here for.
Exactly.
You know, left foot, right, whatever that song is, Tootsie slide. Let Drake Tootsie slide us. That's what he's here for.
Come on, man.
You know?
Right. You rallying behind Drake,
man.
Yeah, man. Let the boy live.
Shouts out to Drake, boy. It's a stripper and an adult film star holiday whenever Drake comes to a city near you. That's for sure.
Wow. I'm me defending Drake. What's the world coming
to? Oh gosh. Okay, controversial commentator Andrew Tate, while he's not trying to avoid prison time for human trafficking, he is speaking on Adam 22. For anyone who is not aware, Adam 22 is the host of a very popular podcast called No Jumper. He is also married to a very popular, she started off as just like an internet social influencer type person. And eventually she gradually, you know, started doing adult film, movie acting. I would use the P word that rhymes with born, but I hear YouTube searches for certain words and it depresses the viewership potential of your videos whenever it detects some of these words in the content. So I'll just use the word born with a B. Google born with a B. But Adam 22 is married to Lena the Plug, and together they do Born movies. They have a Born pod. Well, no, they have a show on everybody's favorite adult content social media site, OnlyFans, called Plug Talk. And during this Plug Talk show, they interview other Born stars, and then once the interview is over, they proceed to have a Born scene. And so they are sex workers, and they're proud of it. And up until very recently, Lena the Plug only did scenes with him and another woman. And I think a couple weeks ago it was the first time, and this made a whole lot of news in the world of debauchery and degenerate behavior that people follow so much on the corners of the internet.
That's right.
News was made because for the first time, Adam 22 decided that Lena the Plug ought to do a scene involving a man that is not him. And that man was another Born star by the name of Jason Love. So obviously, Adam 22 is the butt of a lot of jokes on the internet because his girl's gotten, been in this scene with this other guy. And so he's just being called all kinds of words and being called a simp and all of this kind of stuff. She's, of course, defending his honor in the media and on the internet, saying that he's not a simp. And Andrew Tate, where Andrew Tate comes in with this, is he was on Piers Morgan's Twitter show very recently, and he briefly commented on Adam 22 and how this whole situation is reflective of what he refers to as the Matrix's desire to make men subservient in our society in the West, but moreover in the world. So, and that's the point that we're bringing this topic up for. So you can say what you want about Andrew Tate. Very controversial guy. A lot of people kind of put him in the hater, misogynist, woman-hating category because of his directness and his bluntness whenever he is delivering some of his views. They think that he just hates women altogether. They think that he is what's that word, incel, because of how much he hates women, and he's a misogynist. So this article says Andrew Tate slams Lena the Plug and Adam 22 in new Tucker Carlson interview. Andrew Tate is someone who has completely polarized the internet overall. Some people love him and others absolutely hate him. However, if one thing is for sure, it's that he will be going to trial in his sex trafficking case. His legal issues have persisted for months at this point. He was stuck in jail for quite some time before eventually being allowed to leave. Although now he is stuck waiting for a trial date that could determine the course of his life. It's a wild fall from grace, even if his supporters still love him unabashedly. Recently, Andrew Tate sat down with none other than Tucker Carlson. I think I said Piers Morgan earlier.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, so my bad on that. It's Tucker Carlson, not Piers Morgan. Freudian slip. Andrew Tate sat down with none other than Tucker Carlson for an interview on his new Twitter show. Despite the declining numbers for Carlson's show, he still decided to make the trip to Romania so that he could speak to Tate. The conversation touched on numerous topics. Of course, the main ones were masculinity and the Matrix, which has just become a stand-in for things I personally don't like or believe in. Moreover, Tate decided to give his opinion on Adam 22 and Lena the Plug. So we'll just go ahead and play a clip here.
I don't want to.
So that, Tate can speak for himself.
Personal enemies of people I don't know. There's a guy called Adam 22. Once again, I have no idea who this man is. I just saw on Twitter yesterday that he was with a porn star who'd never done a male scene. They got married, and like a week after their marriage, she did her first male scene with some random dude, and he's on a podcast defending it.
But his wife had sex with somebody else?
Correct. Why? Like this is the level you can. But this is what the Matrix wants from you as a man. They want the woman in charge and the man below with no backbone, because if the woman's in charge, they can emotionally affect her. They can scare her. You can scare a woman easier than you can scare a man. A man. A real man's hard to scare. A woman you can make afraid of the vaccine, right? Be afraid, COVID, be scared. If she's in charge of the household, I would argue in nearly any household where the female was dominant, everyone's vaccinated. I would argue that point.
All right, there you go. So he even threw the vaccine in there to mention how he feels about this stuff. And so yeah, the article goes on to say Adam and Lena have become a hot topic of debate due to their recent shenanigans. Lena just did a sex tape with another man, and Adam 22 is promoting it. As you can imagine, Andrew Tate was disgusted by this and told Tucker Carlson about it. So there you go. So those are Tate's comments. I can glean from context what matrix means. I just never heard that term before. That was the first time I've heard that. But of course, I'm also not the most ardent follower of Tate. But anyone with half a brain who knows what he's about can sort of glean from context what he is referring to when he uses the word matrix. So yeah, he kind of brought up Adam 22 is the subject of what the matrix is trying to do to men, make them subservient, put the women in charge. What did you think about that?
Well, I would say that I agree with his take on, that Adam 22 is the agenda. Whatever the hell he's up to, this is right in line with all these other liberal forms of sex that's going on right now. So man, you gotta see who we're dealing with here. Now, Adam 22, he's the type of guy that'll do anything for $1, clearly. And he was already having sex with his woman on camera for the world to see. So he was already doing that. So what kind of honor is that? The other thing is you're dealing with born stars. And I remember back in the day, long time ago, I used to listen to Howard Stern in the morning before I went to school. Maybe that's why I got so kooky in the brain. But I used to listen to Howard Stern in the morning. He was talking to some born stars or whatever. He used to always talk to them. And he was asking them questions. And I think the males, well, he had a male on there and he was talking about whatever. And he was like, oh yeah, man, you'll be surprised. How many, it's pretty much like in some circles, low key required for you to go both ways. It's just the industry. I say that to say is that there's been so many born stars out there that people have seen and they think so much of, but they go both ways. On camera, they're just probably dealing with women, but they out here because whatever. And teach their own, and that's their business. I say all that to say is that we're dealing with a guy who has sex with his woman on camera for the world to see. So we're not dealing with somebody that has boundaries. So how far is it for him to let another man have sex with his woman? It's not far-fetched at all. So that whole industry is just left. It's deviant. They just do whatever. So Adam 22 loves this stuff. And there's everyday guys out there, that allow strangers to have sex with their wives. They literally go to bars. And they want to watch in the corner. Now, what's that about? Man, I don't know. So why is it so hard and far-fetched to see Adam 22 do it? And on top of this, he's making a lot of money on it. So he's not really losing here. His name is getting drugged through the mud, but you're dealing with somebody that doesn't have boundaries and to do anything for $1. This shame don't really do much to him. He's going to cry in his Ferrari. So he don't care about none of this. So, but now we're looking at somebody who's from that industry, from that lifestyle, from, it's another side of the tracks that people don't live on. And he Adam 22 is introducing this madness, this psychosis to the internet. So when Andrew Tate sits here and says, hey, the Matrix loves that. They love the cucked out man. And they want your son to grow up to be like Adam 22. And not like a man like him, he would say. But just not a man. Because what Adam 22 is doing is not manly. That's not. To each their own, everybody got their own little thing or whatever. You know, this world is all kinds of ways. You know, everybody got their own unique fingerprint. You know, anybody can do whatever the hell they want, clearly. But if everybody lived like Adam 22, how would the world be? So, no, we don't want that. But he says the system loves this. And I think that's what he was referring to as the Matrix. So, and in this situation, I'll let you go. In this situation where he's getting cucked out so hard, his problem about this, kind of like everybody else's problem with this was like, damn, bro, she wait till y'all got married to do this. You know, to pull this card of, hey, by the way, you know, can we have a dude in here this time? You know, and then people breaking down, analyzing the tape. You know, yeah, people doing all kinds of stuff. You know, but these people, they live in another realm. But yes, it's getting bestowed upon anybody that has a smartphone. Not the people that grew up with core values and boundaries. We're dealing with the young and impressionable who have yet to develop theirs. And then they'll grow up with a Adam 22 boundary line, you know. So how about you, bro? How do you feel about this whole dynamic here? Do you think that Mr. Andrew Tate has a point here in regards to you know, Adam 22 pushing a narrative, a lifestyle, and an agenda?
To answer your question, I do think he has a point. The ironic thing about this whole, what I find most funny about this is the guy who Lena the Plug did the scene with, he was talking to somebody, doing some kind of interview. And even he himself, he was asked, would you let your wife, you know, be with another guy? And he was like, no, I can't see myself doing that. So the very guy who, you know, was in the scene with Adam 22's wife is saying, I myself wouldn't let my wife do that. So at that point, what is the worth of what it is that you are doing here? If this dude himself who did it, who's involved in the situation, is like, I wouldn't even let my wife do this. And you brought up the point about Andrew Tate saying Adam 22, what Adam 22 is doing, that's not manly. And that's my point with this whole thing. And I brought this up many times before, and I'll bring it up here. What is a being, and you know, I'm not going to get into. I know what when he uses the word matrix, I know what he's getting at. Mm-hmm. So it's like, you know, I've never heard that term before, but whatever word you want to use to describe this phenomenon, whatever word you want to use to describe this phenomenon, I don't think anybody with a reasonable brain can argue that we are over time changing our relative level of sensitivity when it comes to certain ideals. And some of those ideals have a lot to do with how we perceive things like sex, relationship, gender roles. We're shifting how we look at that. We're trying to fundamentally redefine it. And I think what is at stake is the notion of manliness being redefined. So whatever these elements are, the mystical they, people want to use the word they, whether you want to use the word they, matrix, the government, whatever word you want to use as a stand-in for who or what is responsible for this. I think whatever that is, they would like for manliness to be redefined so that it can very well mean that you can still be a man, but allow your woman to not just be with another guy, but to be with another guy publicly. Furthermore, I know it's crazy. So you can do all of that, and it's like, hey man, yeah, let your woman be with another guy. You're still securing your manliness. As a matter of fact, because this is how they'll misconstrue it. You're even more of a man if you allow your woman to be with another guy, because you're so firm in your masculinity and you're so confident in your ability to hold it down that you can let your woman be with another man and it doesn't faze you. So that's the Jedi mind trick that's being attempted here, is that they're trying to turn this whole thing around. It's a carousel. They want to redefine what it means to be a man. So before, being a man meant protecting the sanctity of your relationship, so much so that your woman is not parading around with other men, especially sexually. Now we've done a 180. What we want to do is say it's actually the opposite. You're more of a man if you don't mind it if your woman is parading around with other men. And it's a weird thing that, quite frankly, is crazy. And it speaks to this environment of social anarchy that they would like for the world to be entrenched in, seemingly until the end of time. This guy himself said he wouldn't let his own wife be with another dude. Yet you, Adam 22, are completely cool with this. But that brings us to the next point about this weirdo environment that we're now in Western culture, which has been exacerbated courtesy of the internet, social media, and just the availability to be inundated with all of these different messages to make you think that this stuff is normal. We often talk about how sexual deviancy is normalized. That didn't happen because people inherently want sexual deviancy to be normalized. It happened because if you have the opportunity to expose yourself to content 24/7 in your feed that is impressing upon you the idea that the deviancy is normal, then of course over time, as these sensibilities set into the general population, more and more people are going to start believing that this behavior is normal and therefore cool and acceptable, and somehow intrinsically tied to, if you're a man, your manliness. So be a sex worker, let your girl who's also a sex worker be with other guys, and it doesn't matter what the circumstances are, you're still being a man. As a matter of fact, like I just said, you're being even more of a man because you feel confident to let your woman be with another dude sexually. It's the wildest shit ever. But these individuals are sex workers. So for Adam 22 and for Lena the plug, well, let's just stick with Adam 22 because he's the man in this situation. For Adam 22, his decision to allow his wife to be with another man on camera wasn't some sort of moral conundrum that he had to come to grips with. It was a work decision. It was just another day at the office. It's work. So it's like you're so desensitized to it that, yeah, this chick might be my wife, but this is work. Go out there and go to work, clock in, do what you do. It's a job. And that's kind of how far we have gone with how we perceive these various dynamics. Sex work is more and more normalized. Look at OnlyFans. How many subscribers? How many users? It's crazy. And you have access to this stuff. How many people are on the phone looking at this all the time? It's everywhere. It's completely ubiquitous. And so the more ubiquitous something becomes, the more normalized it is, the more desensitized you are to the existence of it and to the ramifications that it has on your individual psychosis, and as well as on the collective psychosis of the masses of people, the general population. And so no one's looking at it. I fear that most people are looking at Adam 22 and they're saying, what's the big deal? That's what they do. It's their job. Let your wife get banged out because it's just another day at the office. It's work. But I think for people who aren't on that vibe, myself included, people who are more of a traditionalist are, number one, saying that this weirdo environment that we are trying to cultivate, in which sex work is no different in terms of value or moral compass than someone who decides to be a doctor or a lawyer or an engineer. It's all the same. It's just professionalism. And then, someone who's also saying, what's with the sanctity of the relationship? Like, what happened to relationship sanctity? that we are just now somewhat gleaning this thing to be a normal thing. Yeah, I'm going to send my wife out there to, not that he even sent her out there. She did it of her own accord. Because for all I know, she
So
might
that's
run
the
the thing
wild
for all
part.
we know. Yeah, like she might run the thing for all we know. So she did it of her. She could have done it for her own accord, which speaks to Tate's point about men becoming more subservient. And so she went out there and she did it. And it's like, why would you have a problem with this? It's work. It's another day at the office, babe. I clocked in. Big deal. So Matrix, Illuminati, government, they, whatever word you want to use as a stand-in for this phenomenon that's taking place, in which traditionalism is being flushed down the toilet in lieu of hyperliberalism, in which we can create a world that views sex work as the same in terms of its moral compass with actual professions that contribute to society. I think Tate does have a point in what he is referring to, whether you agree with his overall philosophy or not. I think within this context, there isn't much that he is saying here that is false. You would holler agenda all day. I wouldn't be one to disagree with you. People who are deniers of this can suggest that it's not something that's being purposefully done. But when you see how prominent it is and how more it's becoming just typical everyday run-of-the-mill stuff that people adhere and conform to, it's hard to deny that even if it's not intentional, it's happening at a greater rate. And there's a conversation that should be had as a result of that.
And the wild part about this situation isn't so much, I mean, it is wild that his wife's getting smashed, but like I said before, they did porn before this. So where's the shame? Where's the boundaries there? There is none. The wild part about it is she waited until they got married for her to make this suggestion, which implies a myriad of things, but it's still wild that he wasn't for it and she had to convince him to do it. And now he's okay with it. That's the wild part about this. And that's why when Andrew Tate was talking, he was like, because he just got married and now she wants to have scenes with another man. It's the boundary pushing on him to be okay with allowing his wife, because he didn't want that. He's okay with it now because it's a check and all these other things, but he had to be convinced to do this. Now, I'm pretty sure he doesn't care that another man is smashing his wife, because again, you people who have sex for a living, that's like, oh, you was playing ball with somebody else,
right?
So you're gonna get jealous because somebody went to another court and played with somebody else. Like, who gives a shit? Y'all was hooping. So, I really don't think he cares like that. I think that the part about this, as he mentioned, it was more of a like, how people gonna shame me from the lane he's in, because dudes don't play that over here in the hip hop lane, and you in the hip hop lane, and your wife getting smashed out. How that's gonna stand. So I agree with all of that. So he was like, hey, so that was the wild part about that. But nevertheless, his boundary got pushed on his comfort because of what she wanted, which cucks him out even further. And so that's the part where Andrew Tate was saying, where basically the man doesn't have any balls, because if he was pimping her out, if the roles were reversed and he was pimping her out, no, I told her to go out there and do some scenes. Everybody be like, dang, he a wild boy, but he got that woman in check. He got that woman in, is he not cucking out? Then no, I'm putting her on the track. Yeah, but you still cuffing up and loving. Hey, that's my porn star.
But the thing is, in that particular example, pimps don't marry.
They don't marry. They don't marry.
They don't marry them. Yeah,
they don't marry either. So that's what I'm saying. So he's in a wild boat, but still never. But he was still better off doing that. Playing that angle instead of the whole side of, well, she wanted it, so she wanted black meat, is what you're saying. Yeah. Yeah, she wanted it, so I told her, I mean, yeah, whatever makes you happy, honey. And happy wife, happy life, right? No. Happy wife, happy life means no testicles. That means you lost both of them. And so, you got to pick and choose, right? You got to, and most men would like to be on the sides of having both of their testicles. So the angle of which Tate was talking about was more or less the testicle removal from him doing something against his will to appease his woman. On top of that, it's getting smashed on film. Lord Jesus. And so, yeah, so that's now I don't know if there's any puppet strings that be playing this out for there to be an agenda, but the part where I think is the overall, and I don't know who's pulling the strings on that either, but the overall matrix, and as far as his analogy, is more or less this whole feminist realm that we talk about, this independent, don't need a just running rampant roughshod, as you say, on men and doing whatever. And we're not saying that women can't have freedoms and liberties and things like that, but women like men for their leadership. And when you allow when women are out here, I'm gonna be careful with my words. Women love leadership, and you love leadership because you want to be guided somewhere and led in a direction. I'll say it like that. But when there is no, I don't need none, then where is the direction? So, not saying that you're not capable or not powerful, can't do what you can. You're doing that, but in all directions. So the guy's job, responsibility is to guide and lead that energy in the right direction. You can still do is whatever you want, but it's in a concentrated field of purpose and direction. And so that's a guy's job. But right now it's just chaos and anything goes. And as you mentioned, it's social anarchy. And this situation is very symbolic of that. And that's the matrix of just have at it. Everybody just do whatever, live your life. So the beast of whatever sits on top of it, the entity that just is, self-destruct, is like, Adam 22, born stars and crazy. It's feeding off of this dysfunction. And somewhere down the line, it is, whenever somebody's girl say, hey, I'm trying to smash other dudes like that on the house, and you okay with that? Hey man, you gotta make that decision, bro. Yeah, I have my own, and I got two lanes. I got two lanes that I can go with this because I've already pretty much voiced this before. Now I can do the traditional thing, but in today's modern world, man, when you're dealing with so many women out here that are living on their own accord and are not looking for direction, I've contemplated the idea of just being like, hey man, I guess polyamorous is what people are calling it, or in the sense of just, hey man, she gonna do whatever she do anyway. What I'm gonna try to stop her. So it's this wild thing of, so you want to get married to a cheater? You want to find out when you get cheated on? Or are you going to be in the spirit of, who gives a damn? It is just sex. It's just a high five. So it's ways of looking at. That's how I'm, at least for me, because the way that and I'll let you go, is that the infidelity thing, it cannot be as devastating. You can't allow it to be. You can't allow anybody to have that kind of power over you to break your world in half, all because they decide to share their genitals with somebody else. They're going to do that mess anyway. And do they love you? Probably so, but they just wanted to share their genitals. But your whole world is devastated. Your whole back and heart is broken because somebody wanted to be a human. And so I said, never again will I allow somebody to do that to me. But this to me is a situation of humiliation, this Adam 22 stuff. And it's to me, this is like, this is humiliating. So you gotta play with that balance of infidelity, all that stuff, cheating and all of that. I do think there is a power in not giving a damn, but I don't think it's empowering for your wife to come to you after you done married her to say, hey, can I go smash other dudes, whether you like it or not, kind of thing, and you just, there's no power in that. So I believe Mr. Tate has a point here.
Yeah, I do too. I think for me, the crux of it is just the transition that we have made to how we perceive certain things like sex work. Um, in today's world, uh, for many people, not everybody, but for many people, and in various different areas within our culture and in our society overall at large, things like sex work has been given a moral high ground that is tantamount to just another profession.
Which is
And
crazy.
so the tinge of shame that may have come along with doing that kind of work in previous generations is no longer here. It's gone. It's eradicated. And so where it ties into this rhetoric about where it ties into the rhetoric around a man's masculinity or lack thereof in terms of how he feels about these sorts of things is, if from a moral high ground standpoint, sex work is on the same playing field as any other profession, no matter what that profession is. It can be architecture, construction, education, you selling insurance, you do real estate, you do medicine, you're a doctor, lawyer, whatever that profession is, whatever it is, that is now on, sex work is now on par with that in terms of the moral high ground or lack thereof, or not the moral constitution. I'll put it that way. Sex work is now on the same level as those things in terms of moral constitution. So if you were a guy and you were married to a woman who was a doctor, and you can't feel some type of way about the fact that your woman is a doctor who has to treat patients and do all of this and do all of that, because being a doctor is just being a doctor. That's her profession. You can't have a requirement that your wife not be a doctor. Why? She's a doctor. That's her profession. You also now can't feel some type of way about your wife being a sex worker because it has the same moral constitution. So if she's a sex worker, this is where we're going, in my opinion. If you're being a sex worker, it's now like, okay, well, my wife is a sex worker. Okay, that's what she does when she goes to work. It's just work. The interesting thing about this weird dynamic is there's still a slight tinge of perceiving sex work a certain kind of way when it comes to the notion of family values. And so how do you reconcile that difference? People on the Andrew Tate side are saying guys need to understand that this is not something that you need to conform to. But the rest of the world, the Western world, modern feminism, and proponents of modern feminists, which ain't just women, is men too, say, hey, this is just another profession. So it behooves you to be okay with it, or else you can be shamed for being an insecure man and lacking in masculinity because you have an issue with the fact that your woman wants to go out there and work, even if her work is that of being a sex worker. So you're no different than those other guys from the 50s and 60s who didn't want their women out working in manufacturing plants or being seamstresses or doing, actual work because you wanted them to just be at the house cooking for you all day and raising the kids. So just like those guys from those olden eras were chauvinists and pigs and misogynists, you now in the modern day, 2023, are the same thing because you feel some type of way about your girl getting smashed by another guy. Hence Tate's point about not having your basically being castrated. So it's like, which world are you as an individual going to choose to live in? The world in which you have to conform to this and live with the very real possibility that you have to navigate the waters of being with your sex worker girlfriend or being with a girl who thinks that it's completely and entirely acceptable for her to be with other guys sexually, even if that's something that you don't want? Or are you going to sort of cling to this idea that there is some sanctity that still lives in that? Because there's plenty of women who aren't on this stuff, but there's also a lot who are. People in general, not just women. There's a lot of people who are on this because it's being construed in that direction. And you can look at music, entertainment, media, all of these other things chicks who do OnlyFans, Instagram models who are influencers. They got millions of followers. They have the ability to sway anybody who follows them. In my opinion, I've already said this on this channel. I look at people like Instagram models. I look at that as sex workers. You might not be smashing on camera, but to me, you're still a sex worker. Like, your contribution to this whole thing and your mode of income, everything that you do in the world is derived off of your sex appeal and your sexuality. To me, that's sex working, in my opinion. You're not this private citizen who posts gym selfies from time to time. You're earning a living because you have a nice body. So to me, I think that that's sex work too. So you're going to have to navigate these waters where you're going to have to consort with these individuals on a daily basis. And you have to decide whether you're okay with contorting your values to be cool with this so that you can coexist with these people in an acquaintance or relationship context, or if you're still going to try and live over and play in the other sandbox that says I'm still going to do things the traditional way. And know that traditionalism doesn't necessarily mean that I'm anti-woman or anti-women doing certain things. It just means that I still perceive certain things like being a sex worker to play in this little box over here where you're doing sex work, but you're devoid of the moral constitution that is inherent in other forms of work. So Adam 22 clearly made his choice.
Yeah.
He's playing in the weirdo sandbox.
Yeah.
And to each their own. It is what it is. But the danger of people like Adam 22 and his wife is the normalization of it, to where you are going to more and more with each passing year desensitize people to the idea that there is anything morally corrupt with doing things like what they're doing. And eventually there's going to be more and more people who see it as normal and acquiesce to it and do it. So I think that's where people like Andrew Tate are speaking at it from. And I think that whole dynamic that I just described there is what he would characterize as the Matrix. And from that standpoint, I think that he is, right about that. Because you can't deny that it's a thing. Like, this is what's happening. It is what it is. So, the choice is whether you're going to choose to abide by it or not. And you still have the choice. You still have the choice, as crazy as it may seem to the contrary, you still have that choice available to you. So,
yeah. And, some of these dudes out here is already sharing their girl and they don't even know it. So if it gets to a point where, of course, it's all right, it's the end of the world and the world's gonna blow up. Or it's the thing where, or the next one gonna do it, or the next one, or whatever. It's like, look, man, this is just what's going on out here, kind of thing. And so I'm not condoning this stuff, but I do think there does need to be a conversation had, because right now, in the days of social anarchy, there has to be a way that people live through this stuff in a sane capacity. Because in the days of now, it's just free love and stuff, like it's the 70s or whatever. Like, ain't diseases out there. He was just doing whatever. And, in this day and age, in order for there to be some level of something structured, there has to be, people have to get over certain things. But that's what we're coming to. Like, some of this social unrest is pushing on people's traditional values in an aggressive fashion, because these are conversations we would have never had, but these are conversations that are being had now. But this is like where people are low key at. That's what I'm saying. Some of these guys out here, you're already sharing your girl.
Yeah.
So, and it's like, oh, but if I knew that, I'm out of there. I ain't gonna sit there and accept this. Hey man, teach their own, and whatever. But I'm just saying, bro, this is going on. So what I said was, hey man, I do want my chick to be solid. I really do. But if I get some bad news, or if I stumble across something, bro, I'm not gonna crack in half. And that's why I say on every part, not being too high, not being too low. And that's basically staying in a space of, you can't let nobody control you like that. So yeah, man, interesting stuff here. We're gonna see more of this stuff in the public, where people are openly sharing people. Like you'll see the rapper who has his girlfriend who's bisexual, so you know he's sharing her with another girl kind of thing. But you're gonna see more Jaden Smith, Jada Pickett, and what's it, August Alsina situations going on out there where everybody just sharing.
Yeah.
And everybody just okay with it. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, he's smashing her, and so get out their business. That's what the people gonna be saying. Get out their business, let them go, let them do them. They ain't hurt you, gosh. And it's like, oh wow. But yeah, this is where we're at, man. They're pushing no boundaries.
Yeah.
Social
anarchy. No boundaries is definitely the right way to describe it. Having no boundaries when it comes to this kind of discussion would be all fine and dandy if there weren't such things in the world as diseases. But for me, because there are diseases, I can't go for that. There are diseases out here, and I would prefer to remain disease free.
Yeah, I hear that.
And if you believe any of the numbers out there, the rates are increasing at a rapid pace, and especially in places wherever you live, like where I am right now, it's almost out of control, and you will never know about it if you don't operate in those spaces, but it is real. And so you can say what you want about how normal and regular and cool it is to share people and do and live like that and do all of that kind of stuff, but I'll be damned if you're going to convince me that it's normal and cool and whatever to just be running around getting diseases. I'm not going to. I'm not with that. I'm not on that. You're not going to get me to. You're not going to get me to buy that.
That's very fair.
Yeah, you're not going to get me to buy that. So Fabolous believes that female rap is in need of some evaluation. He recently posted something, I think, on his Instagram or one of these channels talking about female rap and how it needs to do better and improve. Many thought that these comments were interesting given his recent collaborations with Puffy and the City Girls, because it sort of on an opposite end juxtaposes these very comments. Now, we've talked at length on this channel about comments made by some of these female rappers and how absurd we think they are. We've talked about Young Miami on this channel. We've talked about Coi Leray on this channel. We've talked about Lotto on this channel. Lotto is an interesting one that I like to bring up as just a shimmering beacon of hypocrisy, because she went on to a radio show to talk about how disappointed she was that a rapper wanted to smash in order to clear a feature, yet she continues to make music talking about how she smashes guys for whatever she wants to smash them for. But be that as it may, we're not the only ones who talk about this. So let's go ahead and share this for a little bit of context. This is an article from TMZ. It says, Fabolous, female rap lacking in 23, had different energy, acting bad with City Girls. Fabolous thinks there's only one kind of female hip-hop winning these days, and he's voicing his concern for the community, despite recently helping City Girls promote the very same sound he's speaking out against. On Sunday evening, Fab posted an IG story praising women for having complex stories to share, but criticized the output he's been hearing in the music. So this is what he put out there. It says, love hearing of female rappers talking about some real shit. Women are so strong, have so many stories and perspectives that we need to hear in pure form. No disrespect to any female rappers out, but I think there's only one style of female rap / hip hop being promoted, programmed, and looked at as successful now. It's not exactly a secret that female rappers are ruining hip hop in 2023, or not ruining, running. It's not exactly a secret that female rappers are running hip hop in 2023. Ice Spice is currently tied with Morgan Wallen, don't know who that is, for most Billboard hits this year, and she's just a rookie. But Fab hints only women who rap sexual lyrics are getting pushed to the forefront. He might have a point. Sexy Red's Pound Town single sparked a huge debate last week on whether it was appropriate for her to perform the raunchy track for high school students. But fans are quick to point out Fab's opinion makes him a walking contradiction thanks to his recent collab. Back in May, Fab and City Girls were featured on Diddy's Act Bad single, which highlights Loso rapping about buying girls BBLs and proudly dealing with gold diggers, which understandably upset many female rappers. A classic case of right message, wrong messenger. That was the question that the article left to readers. So, what did you think about what Fabolous had to say about the type of female rap that gets pushed to the forefront? He's being called a hypocrite because of this collaboration recently with City Girls.
Yeah, I would have to agree. This is the pot calling the kettle black. So yeah, he this is the right message, wrong messenger, all the above. So I agree with him. This music needs to stop. But he himself, when he was younger, and because his music did take a different turn from when he first came out, for the better, I would say, over the past decade or so. It's been a much better music coming from him, but he still does a genre of hip hop that's not really progressive. Just like I was talking about with Drake, it's not really much substance. I mean, he does stuff that has stuff in there, nowadays, but it's not like substance. So he'll still do braggadocious bars, and he'll still give you, ego rap, and he's still good for that, and rightfully so. But what does that do for people? That ain't helping nobody either. So you in the same boat of not helping nobody. So, if there was a plus or minus, you get thrown in a minus bucket. Your stuff hurts people more than it helps. So, but we're in this situation now where we've been so conditioned to deal with non-progressive music that we'll take what Fabolous does as better than the other stuff, but it's still all in the same bucket. It's different ends of the spectrum, but it's all on the same thing. So he's no different than the City Girls. Probably why he did a collab with him. And this is why he looks like he's full of shit, which he's not. He's a human who's tired of this stuff like the rest of us. But it's still a thing where it's like, yeah, bro, but you can't talk. You've been talking about the same stuff more or less for the past 20 years. So no, dude. So I can't really go for that so much, but this is the era that we're in, that these women are getting their shine. This is chickens coming home to roost from your videos, Fabolous. That video, I Can't Deny It, or whatever, with Nate Dogg. Man, in 9th grade, I used to play that video all the time. I'm sitting there watching it, back to back to back. Those women in there were going crazy. My little 13, 14-year-old brain, I'm in there losing it. I'm like, God damn, look at that. Look at that. And all the while programming my young impressionable brain. Now, it's not like Fabolous had some strings where he's like, yeah, he was just going through the motions, being young, being a rapper. They turn the camera on, they throw girls at you, and they say, all right, girls, dance by those cars and do this. And that's what's going on now. You're doing and saying whatever, because in that song too, you gun bars and whatever, everything goes in that song. And so when you were young, you were saying anything too. These girls are young. They're saying anything to get on. They're no different than you were when you were in your shoes. That's why they're on now and you were on back then, because the machine wants dysfunction. So you can't sit here and go, oh, yeah, what they're doing is dysfunctional. Bro, what you've been doing has been dysfunctional. So, yeah, it's the pot calling the kettle black. I hate to get on Fabolous like this because this is my dog, but you belong in an entertainment bucket. That's like Drake hopping out and saying there ain't no substance in the game. Boy, you sound crazy. Stay in your lane and critique that lane. But don't go out here and say, I want my girls out here to be talking, you know what? Bro, all your girls are sexual objects. Oh, yeah, the love songs and stuff's about how you flexing and stuff, but you can always have another one on the side type shit. Like, you never talking about being faithful and honest, none of that. You're talking about gaming females all the time like you some pimp or player. So who are the women getting played in your music? Who are the men out there playing the women doing? They're out there in the world. Then they grew up to be city girls. This is chicken coming home to roost, bro. You can't complain from putting the feed out there and the chicken's coming right there at it. So how about you, sir? Sorry, I mean, get off my soapbox. But how do you feel about this whole dynamic? This boy got me riled up.
I think he would have been safe if he would have just talked about female rappers needing to be more lyrical or something like that. But he hinted directly at the content.
Yeah.
And that's where he lost his argument. Because he now I will say that I kind of look at Fab as two different artists. Mm-hmm. There is the 2000s Fab, and then there's the current Fab. The 2000s Fab set the stage, and that's what ruins it for a lot of people when he talks like this. Because the 2000s Fab was making the kind of music that city girls was listening to when they was in high school, like us. Right. And now they've grown up and they're just saying, we're going to do the female equivalent to that. Just like, there's different context for this. Jeezy right now cannot publicly come out and say there's too many rappers rapping about dope bars. He can't do it because you basically created that. So as the originator, you'd be hard pressed to publicly talk about how there's too much of it. You are, at least in part, responsible for that. And so with Fab, when it comes to the braggadocious rap and the talking about the women and all of that kind of stuff, yeah, because you spent so much time making music that exploited that, now on the back end, it's difficult for you to talk about how there's too much of it. So maybe if you would have shied away from criticizing the content specifically and just maybe talked about the skill level of the rappers, the female rappers, I would have been like, all right, Fab, I got you. Because, you can be like, some of these female rappers need to just, do better, up the game in terms of their bars, But he went all the way into the content of it. And it's a case of right message, wrong messenger, because he's in and of itself, he's not totally wrong. Like when we talk about this stuff, or when we lament on the music or the state of the music, at least for me, I'll speak for myself. I'm not necessarily okay. Yeah, I will call certain artists trash, but that's because I think from a skill standpoint, they suck. So I don't care. I'm not shy about that. If I think you suck, I think you suck, whatever. But I'm never going to say that the artists themselves are responsible for the climate of the music. To me, I levy that at the feet of the music industry itself, because whoever is working for the record labels, whoever works at Sirius XM, whoever works at Hip Hop Nation, whoever works at Shade 45, whoever works at 99 Jams, whoever works at 1023, whoever works at whatever that station was that we used to list, that the terrestrial station in Tallahassee that played the hip hop music. I forget what it's called, but it's the industry itself. So whoever is making the decisions to prioritize funneling this particular type of content above everything else, that's what's most responsible for what we have going on, especially for me when I speak about the lack of balance when it comes to the type of music that's proliferated culturally. So I'm never going to necessarily come at the artist directly, because I don't think the artist is creating that. I think the artist might be falling in line with it because they see that that's what they got to do in order to get on.
Right.
But I think that for the most part, the industry is saying, let's feed this to the people. For what reasons? You can speculate on that. That's up to interpretation. We can speculate as to the reason as to why that is. But I'm not necessarily going to go at the artist per se. It's more so a referendum on the industry.
Right.
And so Fab has a point because he's saying the industry is putting out this type of female rap on purpose. And he ain't totally wrong. But yeah, if I'm going to be reasonable, because I am a Fab fan, he's one of the guys who I listen to today. When he puts stuff out, I'm jumping on it. I need to hear it because to me, he still raps better than most of these guys who are doing this stuff. But if I'm going to be reasonable, yeah, bro, you kind of, are responsible for what has perpetuated a lot of that type of music today. So, right message, wrong messenger for sure. Jeezy can't say there's too much trap rap. Drake can't say there's too much
simping,
vagina pedestaling rap. Yeah. Drake can't come out saying it's too many of y'all rappers putting pussy on a pedestal. Because, like, bro, you created this.
right?
So Drake couldn't do that. Jeezy can't do that. Rick Ross can't come out talking about how it's too many rappers rapping about something that they didn't actually do for real. Like Ross, you can't do that because you did it. And you were the purveyor of it for so long that now other younger up-and-coming artists, they saw your blueprint. And they saw, maybe I don't actually have to be living this for real. If I can just rap about it over fly beats, I can still be popularized and get on. So Ross you can't complain about that, Ross. Sorry. So it is what it is. I think he should have just minced his words. Like, you can talk about skill level or maybe, I don't know, their presentation or their flow, their cadence. You can talk about the music that they put out there from a technical standpoint needing to get a little better. But for you to just wholly say that the content needs to change, it rings hollow for me because, yeah, the some of the bars you used to put out with some of these songs, you kind of dug your own grave, bro. You kind of worked against you in that regard.
Yeah, and it's the wildest thing too. Like for the ones that get on, it's like it's just like because we always compare it to like the trap rap, kind of like with trap rap. It's like, why is this dude on? Oh, he's certified in the streets, bro. It's like, so I gotta listen to him because he's street certified. He can't rap, bro. He really was out here doing it for real though. So I gotta listen to this guy. So I'm listening to these people. I'm like, bro, he's trash. So who was the first person? Boosie was the first person. Boosie was the first person. And I was like, look, I'm not listening to this guy. I'm like, what's going on here? Oh, no, man, this Boosie guy, boy, he real, bro. He out here thugging for real. And I'm listening to his. I'm like, bro, I can't stand his voice. And what the fuck? Like, where's the flow? Like, what is it? No, he real, dog. So I'm like, all right, whatever. So that became a thing in the rap game where the street certified dude who picked up a mic was getting the streets behind him because of his street certifiedness. So the Boosies of this thing, Jeezy played that angle. He wasn't really out there, but he played that angle. Who was Gucci? A lot of the people from Atlanta, honestly. Rest in peace to Shorty Low, but Shorty Low.
Yeah.
And
what's the other guy? Rocco. Remember Rocco?
I thought Rocco was good though. I feel like he got the same story though.
When I'm talking about the street certified part. Yeah.
Oh yeah. But yeah, they forced me to listen to him, but I liked it. So it grew on me. But yeah, it's the same story. So yeah, that type of stuff where, hey, you gotta listen to these dudes. So these girls that's coming out, that's the biggest thoughts, the biggest sex workers, not the biggest, but the street the ones that's really gonna be out there for real. Oh, where the D's at? They all over it. You know what I'm saying? And they out there, sex working it up, dancing it up. Where? What we doing? We twerking on the pyramid? Let's go. Damn, this girl will do anything. That's the one that makes it. And what happens is the thoughts that are out there that want to consume more of this stuff, to fuel their lifestyles. They want to listen to the most ratchet of female. kind of like what Future, when he, because I blame Future for a lot of this stuff too, by the way, because his whole promoting toxic before the word toxic was a problem for me too. And so, but this whole, let me say the most toxic, nasty thing on the track, like, oh, why would you do that to somebody? But it's a bar because I'm this sick in the head. And so when these girls are saying, yeah, I'll, you know, have sex with their man, they said they'll have sex with their man and tape it and, you know, whatever stuff. And, you know, the wildest stuff, you know, I'll let him ejaculate, you know, on my whatever. I'm like, hey, wait. I'm like, whoa, they're going there with the bars? So they're actually doing like born arm bars?
Yeah.
So when they got all of this stuff going, and so what happens is that's the ones that make it. So you listen to them, you go, well, the flow ain't really there, the whatever, but the ratchet is.
Yeah.
And that's what the girls in the videos can see. It's like, oh, this girl for real. You know, she'll cut a bitch, and you know, she'll sell fentanyl to you too, if you ask her, you know. And so, you know, you never know. So this whole thing is just street rap for thoughts. It's very unfortunate. I saw a video on World Star, you know, yesterday. Came out yesterday where these girls was, I forgot what was the name of the song. It was called Ratchet Hoe, you know, something like that. And the girls just twerking everywhere, you know. Looked like the street smelled like chitlins, but they were just out there. Yeah, they were just twerking everywhere. You know, they had of course the kids that were too young enough to stand twerking too. You know what I'm saying? And so, you know, for the shock value, because we ratchet, we'll even put kids on the block twerking. You know, that's what we're at. How ratchet? I'm pregnant twerking. You seen that too? Yeah, I'm pregnant twerking. I don't give a damn about this baby. God damn, this girl crazy. And so that psychosis is and that's the same thing goes with the pill poppers. Hey, this guy's really taking the drugs. Oh, this guy's really selling the drugs. Oh, this guy's really, you know. And so this whole thing, and that's what's going. So it's lifestyle rap, and it's who's got the most degenerative lifestyle and who's really doing it for real. And we want to see you crash out. That's all it is. And people are promoting this stuff, and then when they crash out, it's RIP all over the place. And we're seeing a lot more RIPs now because a lot of the people that are getting on are people that are headed towards the wrong exit. So yeah, so earlier I harped on Fab, man, but you know, Fab's still my dog. I just appreciate him in the lane that he's in. You know, I feel like he makes age appropriate rap now, so I don't think he's out of pocket anymore. I feel like that was his younger days. But that was the stuff that warped my brain.
Yeah.
You know, so he gonna catch some of that heat. You know.
Yeah.
But my thing is that stuff did to me what I know it's doing to these little. I used to watch that Fabolous video every day in 9th grade. There's some girl watching one of these ratchet girls dancing in a gas station ass videos every day before she go to school. Now, where in the hell she's gonna be in 5 to 10 years? Only the Lord knows. I'm telling you, man. Have mercy on this place, man. This shit gonna be crazy in a few years.
It is. I think the better question is why is it that the machine that is the music industry is so compelled to funnel that on purpose more than anything else? I was having this conversation with one of my own boys on the phone a couple of days ago, and it's like it's chicken or the egg, you know, which one came first? Are the people demanding the music and so the machine funnels it, or is the machine trying to determine what it is that we want and giving that to us in order to elicit a particular type of behavior? And you know, based on however you look at it, you know, kind of determines how you feel about that. I'm inclined to think that it's the latter. I don't necessarily think that it's a situation where people are demanding that. I just think that it's been determined that that's the lowest common denominator. And so you want to be able to capture as many people as you can, wide net theory, by appealing to the lowest common denominator, because that's always going to be the majority of any given population. And so there goes that type of hypersexualized female rap, just like there goes that type of, just like there goes the trap rap and the gun bars and all of that kind of stuff. People aren't necessarily saying give me more. It's been fed, and it created an environment of social engineering to where now it's a situation that perpetuates upon itself. Now the streets are saying give me more, but that's because it was something that was given to them originally at a previous date.
Right.
So this is what you get as a result. And I hear where Fab is coming from. It's just hard for me to take those comments from him seriously, because not only was he recently on a collaboration with City Girls, because that song is brand new. That song is like maybe a month old or something. But he'll collab on the next song, rapping about that, sometime in the near future, because he's an artist who wants to stay relevant, even though he's aging. He's still very good at his craft. And so he's going to seize upon an opportunity to do a collaboration or to even make more songs like that himself, because he identifies it as the way to stay streaming on somebody's Spotify or something like that. So it is what it is, man. This is what the music is. And people just need to be balanced and have a more balanced variety in terms of the content that they consume, their content consumption. If all you getting is hip hop all day, every day, then you're kind of feeding into your own self-destruction. But that isn't something that is new that we're broaching before. We've talked about that many times before. So that's not some revelation. It is what it is. But it is comical that he talked about it in that way, because, yeah, bro, the Ghetto Fabolous, Street Dreams, and what's his other album? His third one, Real Talk, I think. All three of those are just laced with all of that stuff. And so now he's evolved from it, definitely.
Yes,
he's moved on for sure. And his music, in my opinion, is better now than it ever has been.
Agreed.
When you look at like his Cold Summer and the Young OG project, he does fantastic stuff now. But you did, lay the foundation for a lot of this stuff back when you was coming up in the 2000s. So I hear what you're saying, bro, but people are going to call you out for being a hypocrite. So just be prepared for that. That's all.
Yeah, man. But rock on, Fab. Rock on, Fab.
Yeah.
Man. Keep doing what you're doing now. I like it.
Yeah. Oh man, but that's gonna do it for tonight's stream. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. Another great Conscious Approach video in the books. My name is JV Wins. That's the boy Dogon SS. Let us know what you think about the commentary in this or any of our videos, man. Leave a comment. Let us know where we went right. Let us know where we went wrong. We ain't running a cult. We just like to invigorate the dialogue and continue to push this logical content. If you happen to be watching this video over on the Facebook page, because we do manage to keep that going when Facebook is not bugged. It's a horribly bugged and terrible platform. Yet they have all the time in the world to create their own version of Twitter. So make that make sense. But be that as it may, like that channel, follow that page as well. If you are so inclined, follow me on Instagram at JVWins, JVWINS. Follow Conscious Approach on the Instagram page at Con Approach, CONAPPRO, CONAPPROROACH. My God.
Yep.
But otherwise, man, we're gonna keep it pushing. We look forward to seeing everybody on the next video.
Yes, sir. And the name is Dogon SS. And you can find me on Instagram at Dogon_SS and on YouTube at Dogon SS and Hurricane Dogon. And as I say on every pod, guys, all right, don't be too high, don't be too low. Keep it calm, keep it chill, keep it player. And don't let anybody get you off your pivot. So until the next time, guys, we'll catch y'all on the flip side.
Yep. Yes, sir, man. Be easy. Until the next video on the Conscious Approach channel, we're going to holler at y'all later. Peace. Go Noles, baby. You see that shirt, man. College football player bound, baby. Yeah, I said it.
Go Kane. Go Kane.
Oh, boy, we out.